Hello, and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're at. Recently, I was asked to give some advice to parents of people who have uh, BPD or borderline personality disorder, and I thought I would dedicate this video to giving some hints on what you can do and what you can do to help them and try to make their life a little bit easier and make yours a little easier too. Uh, I want to start off by saying that there are different levels of uh, BPD. Now, that's not in a textbook, that's just something that I've observed. There are, BPDs that aren't that bad, and there goes all the way up to like the one we have where they tend to get a little bit out of whack or violent. So I'm going to give a few tips on what you can do. And if you have any questions, please ask because, you know, I've been putting up with this for a long, long time. And I've done a lot of reading and a lot of research. And I hope that I can help you with this question too. My first tip would be to get help, and that means get help with a therapist or a doctor, somebody who can diagnose them if they haven't been diagnosed already, or there are people who specialize in borderline personality disorder, and it would be good to get a therapist that would do that. And it would be great to talk to attorneys and talk to police department to see what kind of rights you have. Uh, if you have a BPD that's a little more violent than most, and just try to get them into therapy or get them help in some way. And if it's possible, if it's at all possible, try to work together with your BPD in order to get that treatment. So it's a lot easier that way if they agree to go into treatment, because with ours that's pretty hard to do. I mean, she might start treatment and then she'll drop it, and that gets really bad, and then um, she won't take her medication right, or she won't take it at all. And that's another problem, too. Uh, if you can control their medication for them, if they'll let you, try to divvy out their medication to them instead of relying on them to take it on time and take it at all. Because sometimes they don't want to take it at all. I think that my BPD has a rule about medication. If you can't abuse it, then why have it? But she has been taking her new medication recently and has been doing pretty good. But I think talking to her last night, she's getting a little tired of therapy again. And I don't like to hear that, because that means she'll stop going to her therapists and doctors and everything. So I just hope that don't happen, but usually that's a warning sign. Also, try your best to understand what they're going through. Try to look at things through their point of view. What would you do if you suffered from this disorder? How would you want to be treated? Now, I know you might think, well, yeah, but they treat me like crap. which is true, but try to understand if there is, try to find out if there is something behind what they're saying and try to help them with that. That's really hard for my daughter too because she thinks everything that happened to her whole life has been bad. And a lot of them perceive that. They think that their life is bad. And the black and white attitude is really bad too when they get into that attitude of, I really think you're the best person in the whole wide world. And then the next thing you know, they're saying, uh, you're not the best person in the world. You're the most rotten person I've ever met. But try to talk to them and help them, you know, help have them help you understand why they're feeling that way. Because talking to them can help and can calm them down a little bit. And never raise your voice to them if they're yelling and screaming and stuff. Try not to raise your voice because raising your voice makes them raise theirs even louder. Uh, my daughter has a tendency to try to talk over me, and the more I talk, the louder she gets. But when it gets that way, then just don't talk. And one thing that you can do is just remove yourself from the situation. Because if you do that, then they may calm down. They may not like it very well, but they may calm down somewhat. And it's the best thing for you, too. And my husband does that a lot when he goes over to work on something for her. If she starts throwing a fit or saying he's doing it wrong or anything like that, um, he comes back home until she's calmed down. And I know it's really hard to do. Everything in dealing with a BPD is hard because they can't help the way they are. And they are that way because of their brain being wired wrong. Uh, it's hard to tell. They even say that they have been abused in some way, and but I believe it's a birth defect. But there are a lot of people who think it's caused by abuse and growing up around an abusive person. But I myself think it's a birth defect. And you should read a lot of books. Find any book that you can read, even if it doesn't give you tips. It'll educate you on what borderline personality disorder is. And there's lots of books out there. A lot of them are available on Amazon. And a popular book that I have heard of and is on YouTube, you can listen to it on YouTube, uh, is called Stop Walking on Eggshells. And that seems to be a popular book for recommendation. And I've listened to it all, and it's not so much on tips as it is on educating you on what the condition is. And that you need to know. So just read, 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 and study like you're studying for an exam or your PhD, maybe. But any book, any magazine, anything that you can find that will give you information, you know, just immerse yourself in it because the more you know, the better you can help them. And the better you can help them understand and help yourself understand what needs to be done. Because it really, really depends on how bad they are. If they aren't taking treatment, that's when they're at their worst. And I can't say that every BPD acts like ours does, but if you do have the worst case scenario, uh, trying to get into an argument with them isn't the best thing, because you're never going to win, and they're going to keep on arguing till the cows come home. Believe me, I've been there. I've argued all night. I haven't got any sleep because she wanted to argue all night. And that reminds me of another tip. It If they're older, if they're older, like 18 or so, it would be a good thing to do to get them their own place. They have rent-free apartments. There's also housing that is paid for by the government. Um, and if you can afford it, you could rent them an apartment or rent them a house. And what we did, because it was our only choice, we fell short with the rest of it. We purchased our daughter a house. And I wanted to pick a house that she could, uh, fix up any way she wanted to, because she's always trying to decorate. And I wanted to get a house where she could decorate like she likes to. And it helps a lot too when she has one of her anger fits, or thinking about, how we're not treating her very well and stuff like that. It helps to have her there and not here screaming at us. And that's a good thing to do, is to encourage them to go into an apartment. And I know they always say it, but it's really a almost impossible thing to do. But you have to set boundaries. You have to set limits. You know, like uh, if they live by themselves, then they can't come over at your house any time during the night. That would be a boundary. You stay home at your house, we stay at our house. And you don't ever come over to our house in the middle of the night. That's one of the boundaries that we have set for our daughter. And also in spending, uh, we give her an allowance, and she has to stay within the boundaries of that allowance. She has to buy her personal items and everything with that allowance. And she can't come begging money off of us outside of what she gets for an allowance. Because if we give her money every time she asks for it, we would be broke all the time. Because that she just doesn't know when to stop spending. She's always thirsty for money. As my husband said, she's like, uh, money is like the blood in the water, and she is like the shark. And she always seems to know when there's money around, and she wants some of it. But there should be boundaries set there, or whatever their excessive habit is. You should try to get them off drinking if drinking is their problem, or get them off drugs. That's where the help comes in, the therapy, and the doctors and everything that can help them maybe go into rehab so that they could get off of those substances and make their life a lot easier. Uh, Having borderline personality disorder and having a drug or drinking problem is just uh, mind blowingly hard. Uh, Luckily, our daughter is not like that. She doesn't even smoke cigarettes. And but she's bad enough the way she is when she gets into an anger fit, or uh, you're not treating me fairly fit. And she really, really is bad about that. Another thing she does is when she's in these fits, she has blackouts to where she won't remember them. And when you tell her about them later, what she did, uh, she will say, well, I don't remember doing that. And it's kind of scary because of all the time that she lived with us. You know, she lived with us till up to last year. Uh, that we were living with someone who didn't know what they were doing half the time. And that was kind of a scary thought for me. And that's where getting help and getting on medication would take care of that. And always talk to professionals. We've been to lawyers, we've been to counselors, we've been to the law enforcement agencies, we've talked to our health department. Uh, Anybody who could help you find information from them on what you can do if they do get out of hand. And for the ones that are of milder uh, origin or whatever, mild condition, you might not have that problem, but uh, from what I've read and everything, most of them do, you know, go a little bit overboard on everything. And since my daughter had this diagnosis found here recently of somatic symptoms disorder, it explains a lot of things. And in that disorder, they may have pain, and the pain is exaggerated. It's over the top, and they're always a 10 plus. That's on the scale from, 0 to 10. She's always a 10. And uh, they will have the pain, but it might be imagined. And her having that has explained quite a bit from what she's done in the past, because she used to be a really bad ER runner. She was constantly running to the ER with some kind of pain, and they never could find any evidence of it. So that explains a lot to us. And you might do some reading on it too. And borderline personality disorder people might have other diagnoses that need to be done. Like our daughter has bipolar disorder and major depression with the other disorders that she has. She also has OCD. So she really, your BPD needs to be evaluated to see what kind of diagnoses they have, because knowing all of them, they can treat all of them, and it can help them, it can help you. It can give you peace of mind. But just talk to anybody you can think of that might have, talk to your family doctor, you know, uh, anybody that you know of that could help you with this type of thing. And they also, uh, if you could get them into it, they have group homes where they have an apartment of their own or room, and they're in charge of it, and they have to keep it clean. They teach them how to take care of themselves. They teach them how to clean themselves and budget money and anything that they need to have done. And they take care of substance abuse too. And if you have one of those near you, or know of one, then you could see about getting them put in it. And it's not a forever thing. Uh, it's, temporary until they learn, but they could be there like 2 or 3 years maybe. But they keep them until they have really adjusted and can be put into the world. Uh, my daughter has trouble budgeting her money. It's almost like a marathon. She wants to see how fast she can spend it. And then she comes to us for money. But that's her biggest problem. And she just, if she doesn't get what she wants, she usually uh, would get mad or, have problems in that way. And she'll want more money. And if she can't get more money, she'll get mad and she'll get out of hand. That's why we set the boundary of her staying in her house at night and we stay in ours, because she would come to us in the middle of the night and we wouldn't let her in the house, so she would be screaming and everything out in the yard. And then if she would get too out of hand, we have called the police on her, and they have taken her home or talked to her or had her talk to a counselor. And they do that around here. They bring in a counselor for them to talk to, which is really good. But I I really wish you the best. And if you have any other questions on this subject, uh, please let me know. Uh, I can. I've been through so much with my daughter that I don't think that there's anything I haven't been through. So you can ask me anything that you want to. Uh, my daughter is an atheist, and it seems to me like a lot of BPDs are atheists. Um, they can be violent. My daughter has hit my husband with her fist. She's thrown things at him and threatened to throw things at him. She's never been harmful to me, but she has her dad for some reason. Uh, and we're the only ones that she takes her anger out on. Everybody else, gets a pass, but we don't. We're the ones that are the bad guys if she ever gets mad. But just try to stay calm and try not to be afraid. And if you are afraid, either leave the house or call the police. And one thing that we always thought of doing was going and getting a hotel room. And if you have pets that you don't want them to be around, there are pet-friendly hotels that you can go to and take your pets with you, so that your pets will be safe. And it's a good thing to do. We've told a lot of counselors that, and they've really loved that idea. And you can stay a day or two, if you can afford it. And it doesn't have to be a fancy hotel, just one that's pet friendly and a place to sleep. But it's good to do that too, and maybe, have them wake up a little bit in the meantime that you've left. And because abandonment is one thing they can't stand. And if you abandon, well, my daughter, if you abandon her, like going and checking into a motel room, that really hurts her feelings. And she's like, oh, I don't want you to do that. Please, come back home. It's okay. And she's all right for a while. But that's one thing that you can do if they do get out of hand. But, you know, they're your children and you love them and you want to do things for them. But you have to stop yourself and think, is this the best thing for them? Or am I just doing this to keep the peace? Which I have done so many times. And that can get you in trouble, because I ran up credit cards trying to get my daughter her wishes. And she has big wishes. She wanted to build an outdoor kitchen. And she also wanted to get a big pickup truck and a refrigerator with no freezer in it. And she's always thinking up something every day. I need this, I need that. And it's endless. But that's a trait of theirs. They have endless needs. But I consider some of my uh, daughters needs, but I also tell her when she has something that she really doesn't need, she's just wanting it. And you can save those items for Christmas or their birthday or something. Um, I really thank you for watching this video. And if you have any questions at all, please ask them and feel free to. And I will try my best to answer them. And subscribe to my channel and put the like button on and leave any comments that you have. I'll take constructive criticism, but I'm not going to take out and out criticism, just to be mean. Because this channel I created to help people and to let them know that there are lots of people out there that suffer from this, and there are a lot of people who are affected by this. And I just want them to know that there's somebody here who understands. So I'll see you in the next video, and thank you very much for watching.